Hey gang, tonight we carpool straight into 4,500-year-old moonlight at Giza. Yes, the Uber fare is please don't die. Your sandals filed for divorce 2 dunes ago, so we're barefoot, stepping on history's Lego pieces. Honestly, you'd last 45 minutes tops. Most modern humans tap out when breakfast lacks Wi-Fi. Survival rating, 1 star and a participation trophy. So, if you enjoy bedtime stories that smell faintly of camel, hit like and subscribe, only if your finger isn't too sandy, and tell me where you're listening from. Drop your city and local time. I'll imagine you dozing off while I explain how to move 2-ton blocks without a YouTube tutorial. Dim the lights, cue the fan for soft background hum, and let's tiptoe into limestone lullaby land together. Try not to snore. The pyramid already has enough echoes. The desert night feels like someone left the planet's biggest freezer door ajar. Cold exhales off the sand and climbs your ankles. Above you, the Milky Way is spilled sugar, and ahead, the Great Pyramid waits. Casually the size of a 40-story stone birthday cake, except nobody remembers the recipe. You take 1 step, then another, grains squishing between toes like polite little beanbags. The air smells of heated day quartz cooling down, a mineral sigh that tastes faintly of copper pennies. Somewhere to your left, a camel snores, an aristocratic honk followed by bubble wrap lips flapping. You're too tired to laugh, so the sound folds itself into your footsteps. There's no security fence, no ticket booth, not even a souvenir cat in a tiny pharaoh hat. Just the plateau, the pyramids, and the soft whoosh of your own breathing. You reach out and drag 1 finger along the lowest casing stone still dressed in its original limestone tuxedo. It's warm on top, cold underneath, like toast that's been left in the freezer. The block hums, maybe real vibration, maybe your pulse drumming in the fingertip. Either way, the message is clear: welcome to someone else's after party, try not to break anything. A breeze lifts, carrying the distant echo of quarrymen's songs you've never heard yet somehow recognize. Think barbershop quartet, but every lyric is, please don't drop this, please don't drop this. You tilt your head, catch a faint chisel clink, and realize history is still rehearsing in the wings. Your heart slows to match the tempo. For a moment, you feel proprietary, as if the plateau left the porch light on just for you. Then your stomach growls, betraying centuries of evolutionary impatience. The pyramid doesn't answer. It's seen hungrier beings and outweighted them all. You decide to walk the perimeter before going inside, like circling a sleeping dragon to check its breathing. Each side is a city block of night, edges softened by moonlight, so the monument looks upholstered in pale velvet. Halfway along the northern face, you notice a shadow that behaves like a doorway, perfectly rectangular, darker than dark, exhaling cool air that smells of chalk and something metallic, maybe the ghost of 1,000 hammered chisels. You stand on tiptoe. The opening is chin-high. No stairs, no red carpet, just a lip of stone worn smooth by earlier trespassers who also forgot to bring rope. A faint draft flutters your hair, as though the pyramid is offering a shampoo commercial you never auditioned for. Somewhere inside, a pebble drops, clack, 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 decelerating like a reluctant applause. The sound invites you. Refusal would be impolite. You hook fingers over the ledge, hoist yourself, belly scraping grit, and roll inside like a sack of sleepy flour. The temperature drops 10 degrees, sweat on your arms turns into tiny alpine glaciers. When you stand, you find a descending corridor, angled so politely that it feels designed for sliding mail. You sniff, limestone, bat whispers, and the faint vanilla of old parchment. Odd, since paper won't be invented for another millennium. The combination is weirdly comforting, like bookstore plus cave plus grandma's purse. You start downhill, sandals now dangling from your left hand because bare feet grip better on polished stone. Each step makes a soft, kissing noise, your soul's smooching history. The walls squeeze inward, then relax as if practicing ancient breathing exercises. You trail fingertips along the ceiling and discover ridges, chiseled tracks running both directions, up and down, like stone zippers someone forgot to close. 20 paces in, you pause, turn back, and already the entrance is a postage stamp of night sky. Forward is darker, gentler, the corridor exhaling steady 19 degrees Celsius air, nature's HVAC, no subscription required. A faint glow appears ahead, not torchlight, more like moonlight on a diet. You shuffle toward it and realize it's your own eyes adjusting, limestone reflecting limestone, an echo made of photons. The passage levels out. Your thighs say thank you in 3 languages. You arrive at a junction. Left continues down, right sneaks up. You sniff again. The left smells damp and secretive. The right smells of warm cedar and something frying, onions maybe, or the memory of onions. Your stomach votes right, but curiosity is already turning left, humming. You follow the hum, because tonight is not about calories, it's about questions that outnumber the stars. The left-hand passage narrows until your shoulders brush both walls like polite bookends trying to whisper the same title. You duck under a lintel so low it demands a curtsy, and suddenly you're in a vertical shaft. Limestone chimney, moonlight dribbling in from a slit so far above it looks like a single star on a really lazy flag. The air here is different, older, filtered through centuries of bat lungs and the occasional sneaky scorpion. You tilt your head, listening, and the stone answers back with a faint, almost metallic ring. Think wineglass tapped by a ghost who's had one too many. You press your right ear to the block. The sound sharpens, a distant, rhythmic tap-tap-tap, steady as a coder's keyboard at 3 a.m., except the office is 500 miles south in the Tura quarries, and the shift ended 4 millennia ago. Either the rock is looping its greatest hits, or somebody forgot to clock out. You half expect to see a Union steward carved in relief, waving a papyrus time card. Instead, there's only the faintest warmth, as if the limestone itself remembers friction and is reliving its glory days 1 molecule at a time. To keep the blood moving, you shimmy up the opposite wall using opposing pressure, thighs against one slab, back against the other, like a very slow, very vertical snail. Halfway up, you pause. The tapping fades, replaced by a low hum that vibrates through your ribs the way bass at a traffic light vibrates through car doors. It's the exact note middle C would date if it wanted someone older and more mysterious. Scientists argue whether this is wind, acoustics, or wishful thinking. Tonight it's simply your private soundscape, no earbuds required. You reach the top and roll onto a narrow shelf that wasn't on any tourist diagram your brain downloaded from a half-remembered documentary. The space is coffin small, but the ceiling is galaxy high, a limestone cathedral whose architect skipped every budget meeting. From here, you can see the original outer casing stones still dressed in their moonlit tuxedos, edges meeting so tightly you couldn't slide a loyalty card between them. Ancient stonework showing off, basically the linked-in flex of its era. You run a thumb along one seam and feel nothing, zero, nada, just cold perfection humming with smugness. A draft kisses the back of your neck, scented with desert sage and something metallic, like pennies rubbed in palm sweat. You twist around and spot a fist-sized hole where two blocks fail to handshake properly. Through it, darkness thick enough to butter bread. You whisper, "Hello." The word falls in, ricochets, and returns 3 syllables later. He-lo-o, pitched lower, as though the pyramid cleared its throat. Goosebumps convene. You consider turning back, but curiosity already crawled through the gap and is waving you onward with a mischievous limestone finger. You widen the hole by removing a fragment the weight of a hardcover dictionary. Thankfully, limestone is on the lighter side of existential burdens. Inside lies a crawl space, shin-high, lined with graffiti that predates spray paint by 35 centuries, red ochre boats, little stickmen hoisting blocks, and one doodle that looks suspiciously like a cat wearing a crown. Either ancient meme culture or your eyes are sugar crashing. You inhale. The air tastes of cedar resin and the ghost of onions, the same aroma that flirted with you earlier. Your stomach flips like it's auditioning for a cooking show nobody invited it to. Forward you go, elbows scraping powdery history into your sleeves. Every few cubits you pause, ear to floor, and catch that same tap, 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 closer now, syncopated with your heartbeat until you can't tell which is which. The corridor kinks left, then right, then performs a move cartographers call lost. Finally, it widens into a pocket just big enough to sit. You do, legs crisscross applesauce, except the apples are dried dates and the sauce is existential ore. Above you, a single roofing beam bears a line of hieratic ink. The white crown of Khufu is polished by the breath of stars. You raid it twice, decide it beats most fortune cookies, and exhale slowly. Fogging the air with 21st century carbon dioxide the beam has been waiting 4,500 years to meet. That's when you notice the echo is no longer answering in your voice. It's answering in someone else's, lighter, amused, faintly nasal, saying something that sounds like, "Took you long enough." You swivel, no one there. Just stone, shadows, and the realization that the pyramid has been practicing small talk. Scholars argue whether these chambers act as wave guides, amplifiers, or just really convoluted prank machines. Tonight the verdict is simple. You've been welcomed by a building that remembers every visitor and keeps their voices in its pockets. Comforting or creepy? You file the question under tomorrow and wiggle back toward the shelf, limestone dust snowing gently from your hair like dandruff from a very old, very polite ghost. Back on the shelf, you dust yourself off, limestone powder drifting like pale campfire smoke. The night sky visible through the slit has shifted. Orion has swaggered west, betraying at least an hour stolen from your internal clock. You stretch, spine popping like bubble wrap in slow motion, and notice a subtle ramp beginning where the cathedral ceiling dips to meet the floor. It's only a hand span wide, unfinished, as though the builders shrugged mid-project and said, "Let's circle back after lunch," then collectively ghosted history. Scholars call this the internal ramp hypothesis. You call it the world's largest DIY project stuck at 97% completion. You start up the incline, palms skating the walls for balance. The grade is gentle enough to feel polite, steep enough to remind your calves they skipped leg day since forever. Every few steps you pass chisel scars running crosswise, ancient anti-slip measures, or possibly prehistoric graffiti that reads, "Mind the gap." The air warms, carrying a faint scent of burnt rope and something sweet, like dates left too close to a charcoal grill. You picture workers lugging copper lamps, wicks trimmed low, arguing about whose turn it is to refill the oil. Somewhere above, a bat performs an aerial somersault and exits stage left, squeaking what might be encouragement or sarcasm. Hard to tell with bats. After 50 paces, the ramp widens into a landing the size of a yoga mat. Here the left wall falls away, revealing a cavernous hollow. Black, echoing, vaguely oceanic. You kneel, peer over the edge, and drop a pebble. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, clack. The sound returns quicker than expected, suggesting a floor maybe 2 stories down, angled like a giant stone slide. Your inner child immediately volunteers to test it. Your outer adult reminds you that healthcare is 45 centuries away. You compromise by lying flat and shimmying forward until your head pokes into the void like a cautious gopher. Below, moonlight drizzles through a crack, illuminating a line of massive granite plugs, 3 reddish monoliths wedged in a chute, each the size of a city bus that's been on a low-carb diet. They're famously stuck. These blocks, meant to slide down and seal the king's chamber, but currently playing hard to get. You whisper, "How's the traffic?" The echo giggles, bouncing between stone cheeks. Historians argue whether robbers diverted them, or whether the engineers simply miscalculated friction coefficients after too many onion beers. From your aerial view, they look like grumpy siblings refusing to leave the couch. You roll back onto the ramp and continue upward. The corridor zigzags every dozen meters. Left, right, left, like a maze designed by someone who couldn't decide on feng shui. Each turn reveals fresh chisel chatter, the tap, tap, tap now layered, as though multiple crews work different shifts across centuries. You picture them passing in the night, Bronze Age Dave clocking out, Medieval Mike clocking in, both complaining about wages paid in bread and onions. The image makes you grin. History's just group projects with worse lighting. At the 6th bend, you encounter a block half sawn, its middle scooped out in a trough wide enough to cradle your hips. Tool marks show the job was abandoned mid-cut. Maybe the copper blade dulled, maybe the shift ended, maybe someone finally asked, "Why are we doing this upside down again?" You climb into the groove, lie back, and discover it fits your spine like an ergonomic office chair designed by stoners who'd never heard of ergonomics. For a moment, you consider a power nap, but the ramp keeps beckoning, promising higher secrets and slightly better oxygen. You thank the anonymous sculptor for the lumbar support and move on. Eventually, the passage spits you onto a broad ledge inside the pyramid's northern face, about 2/3 of the way up. Here the original casing stones remain, fitted so snugly they laugh at the concept of mortar. Through a hairline seam you glimpse modern Cairo blinking in the distance, an alien constellation of sodium orange and LED blue. The contrast is jarring. 4,500-year-old stone hugging you on one side, 21st century insomnia glittering on the other. You feel like a double exposure photograph, 2 time periods sharing the same negative. Somewhere down there, a car alarm goes off. The pyramid doesn't flinch. It's heard worse: Roman chariots, Mamluk cavalry, British cannons, tourist flip-flops. A tiny Honda is barely a hiccup. You sit, legs dangling into the starlit void, and catch your breath. The breeze up here is cooler, laced with diesel and desert sage, a perfume label that would never sell. From this height, the Sphinx looks like a household cat caught mid-stretch, tail missing, patience eternal. You wave, just in case, then turn to examine the ramp behind you. It continues upward, narrowing to a slit you'll have to shoulder through, a stone turnstile with no ticket. Beyond it, rumor says, lies the summit and maybe, just maybe, a capstone of gold or electrum or pure polished ego. You stand, brush grit from your palms, and step toward the final climb, heart ticking like a quiet metronome keeping time for architects who never disclosed their playlist. The slit grips you like a limestone seatbelt. Shoulders forward, chin tucked, you shuffle sideways into a passage barely wider than a pizza delivery box standing on edge. The stone is warm here, sun-baked memory still radiating from the day's heat, even though sunset feels several dynasties ago. You breathe in short sips, tasting powdered rock and something faintly briny, as if a stray grain of Mediterranean snuck inland to hide. Every footstep scrapes out a tiny avalanche. You half expect a caution, falling debris sign written in hieratic, maybe with a cartoon worker slipping on a banana peel. Occupational safety transcends millennia. 20 crab walks later the walls relent, and you emerge onto a narrow balcony inside the pyramid's eastern flank. Below, the Nile glimmers, a black ribbon sequined with village lights and the occasional fishing boat lantern. From this height, it looks motionless, a paused video, but you know the current is busy hustling silt toward the delta like an overachieving barista foaming lattes. You whisper thanks for the ride anyway. Every stone up here floated on that river in one way or another, if not literally, then economically, spiritually, maybe even romantically. Rivers are matchmakers for civilizations. A rope lies coiled to your left, palm fiber, 3-ply, looking disconcertingly fresh. No one's supposed to be up here, yet the rope appears recently oiled, smelling faintly of sesame and lanolin. You picture an antiquities inspector sneaking midnight measurements, or perhaps a local guide moonlighting as Khufu's Yuba. Scholars argue strenuously about unauthorized access. Ropes keep appearing, ghosts of practicality. You give it an experimental tug, solid, anchored to a copper peg hammered between two blocks. The metal glints red, newly exposed, like a penny fresh from the mince oven. Against every instinct instilled by modern insurance ads, you coil the rope over your shoulder. Borrowing from the past feels acceptable if you plan to return the favor by not dying. Voices drift up. Real, human, conversational. Two men, Arabic spiced with laughter, float from a lit window in the village below. You can't parse sentences, but the tone is unmistakable late-night gossip, probably about someone who tried to pay a dowry with counterfeit Roman coins. The sound is cozy, campfire-ish, and you realize the pyramid has been eavesdropping on 4,500 years of small talk. Births, debts, weddings, the price of lentils. It stores the chatter in its stones the way your phone stores memes you'll never delete. You sit, legs dangling again, and let the voices braid with the wind until both become a lullaby in a language you almost understand. Time slips. Stars rotate. Somewhere between Orion's belt and the faint smudge of Andromeda, you notice a boat, larger than fishing skiffs, square-sailed, gliding north without running lights. Its silhouette blots out constellations in chunks, then releases them like puzzle pieces reappearing. You recall stories of antiquities smuggled under cover of night, limestone fragments, sarcophagus lids, maybe a mummified cat destined for a European drawing room. The romantic in you wants to flash a phone torch in warning. The realist notes your battery died around the 18th dynasty. Instead you watch, breath held as the vessel passes, silent as a shadow photocopied on darkness. When the boat disappears downstream you stand, remember the borrowed rope, and anchor it around your waist for the final ascent. Ahead, the ramp corkscrews one last time, narrowing to a throat you'll have to negotiate chin first. Beyond that, the summit platform, currently missing its capstone, history's most conspicuously absent cherry. You tug the knot, test your weight, and start upward. Each step is a negotiation between souls and grit, between curiosity and gravity. The pyramid smells different here. Less quarry, more altitude. Ozone and sun, bleached dust. The scent of things closer to sky than earth. You climb, heart drumming a rhythm older than drums themselves, and the night politely folds itself around you like a blackout curtain that knows the show is almost over. The final throat opens without applause, just a sigh of cooler air that smells of cedar sneezing. You crawl out onto the summit platform, a stone dance floor roughly the size of a suburban kitchen, except the backsplash is every star ever manufactured. The missing capstone leaves a square crater at the center, edges beveled, patiently waiting for a crown that never showed. Imagine a pizza box with the center slice removed, but sacred. You shuffle forward, rope still hitched around your waist like a superhero belt, whose only power is preventing abrupt descent. The city glows far below. From here it's a scatter of amber sequins on black velvet, Cairo's insomnia politely muted by distance. You sit cross-legged beside the empty socket, palms resting on warm stone. The pyramid exhales upward, a faint thermal drifting from its core, ghost of daytime heat escaping through millions of microchannels. Scholars argue whether this convection helped workers haul stones. Tonight it feels like the monument is breathing through its nose so it doesn't snore. You match the rhythm, inhale 4 counts, exhale 4, until your lungs feel limestone-lined. Somewhere inside, the tap-tap-tap returns, softer, contented, the cadence of a coworker finishing a late shift. You picture Bronze Age Dave clocking out at last, flicking off imaginary lights, muttering, "Lock up when you leave, kid." A shooting star scratches a white line across Orion, then vanishes. You recall that iron meteorites were prized in Egypt, forged into beads and daggers, literally gifts from heaven repurposed for opening tins of afterlife. The coincidence feels curated, like the cosmos winking at a pun only archaeologists would get. You wink back, just in case cosmic etiquette demands reciprocity. The platform answers with a faint chime, a glass-on-glass note vibrating up through your tailbone. It's the same middle C you heard earlier, only now it's accompanied by harmonics, a chord struck inside bedrock, sustained by wind and starlight. Scientists debate acoustic levitation. You debate whether to record it, then remember your phone is deader than Khufu's houseplant. You unwrap the rope, coil it neatly, and set it beside the socket like an offering. Borrow, use, return, ancient library rules. Then you lie flat, shoulder blades kissing stone, feet pointing toward the Libyan desert. The Milky Way arches overhead, a river of spilled sugar no one will ever sweep. You feel the pyramid's bulk beneath, 2.3 million blocks impersonating a mountain. Each stone is a syllable in a story no edition can fully translate, yet here you are, reading by starlight, fluent in goosebump. A calm seeps into your ribs, heavy as quilts, gentle as grandmothers. Gravity itself seems to loosen its tie, letting you float a millimeter above the rock. Unless that's just numb butt, hard to tell. From this vantage, you spot the distant square sailboat again, now anchored mid-river, lantern lit. A figure on deck raises something reflective, mirror, metal, maybe an iPad possessed by time-traveling ancestors, and flashes 3 quick pulses. You lift an arm, palm open, not quite a wave, not quite salute. The lantern answers by dimming, then brightening. Morse code for same time next week. Or simply a fisherman signaling his partner to haul nets. Scholars would demand data. You file it under mystery tasty. The moment stretches, yawns, then curls back into itself, satisfied. Above you, the sky performs its slow rotation, gears oiled by darkness, and you realize you are no longer audience but participant. An extra syllable, the pyramid has slipped into its 4,500-year-long sentence. You close your eyes, let the chord hum through vertebrae, and listen as the monument finishes its nightly lullaby in a language composed entirely of weight and wonder. The lullaby thins, and you feel yourself being nudged, gently, the way a cat claims pillow territory, by a breeze that shouldn't exist this high up. You sit. The lantern boat is gone. The Nile is a black mirror now, reflecting stars with such accuracy you could navigate by it, if only you remembered where you parked. You stretch, joints popping like quiet popcorn, and notice the rope you so carefully coiled has unspooled itself, one end sliding inch by inch toward the capstone socket like a snake charmed by invisible flute music. Borrow, use, return. Apparently the pyramid interprets return as right now, please. You follow the rope's polite retreat. As the hemp approaches the empty square, it dips into the shadow and vanishes, not theatrically but practically. One moment fiber, next moment absence. No sound, no flash, just a soft click you feel in your molars, as though a cabinet door closed somewhere inside stone. Scholars would blame perspective, night blindness, low blood sugar. You mark the moment under things my phone would have missed even if alive. The socket now seems deeper, edges catching starlight and bending it inward, a reverse spotlight inviting the sky to audition. You lean over, cautious, half expecting to see the rope dangling into darkness. Instead you see brightness. A pale, diffuse glow like dawn stored in basement jars. A voice, not audible, more like memory with an agenda, suggests you descend. Not by the external ramp you climbed, but straight through the core, following the rope's swallowed route. You protest silently. No harness, no helmet, no waiver signed in triplicate. The pyramid counters by reminding you it has hosted millions of tons without losing a tourist to gravity's billing department. Fair point, you concede, though your knees file an official complaint. You sit on the lip, legs dangling into glow, and discover the air rising is warm, buoyant, smelling faintly of cedar, copper, and fresh baked bread. Breakfast in the underworld, table for one. You lower yourself. Toes search for purchase, find a staircase spiraling downward inside the socket wall. Hidden helix, each tread knee-high, a design that favors long shins or extreme optimism. You start down, back pressed to curve, hands freestyling balance. The glow brightens as you descend, sourceless, the architectural equivalent of someone adjusting a dimmer switch labeled mood. 20 steps in, you pass a niche containing a single pottery shard, red slipped, inscribed with a hurried hieratic scroll. Day 27, still counting, send onions. You grin, add supply chain issues, Old Kingdom to your mental spreadsheet and continue. Somewhere above, the square of sky shrinks to a postage stamp, then to a confetti sprinkle, then to off. The spiral delivers you onto a landing of polished basalt, black, glassy, reflecting your feet like a mirror that's decided ankles are the most honest part of a person. Ahead, a corridor stretches, arrow straight, walls painted the color of wet sand at sunrise. No torch soot, no chisel scars. This passage feels finished, freshly unwrapped, VIP section of the pyramid. You walk. Each footstep lands muted, sound swallowed by stone so dense even echoes need permission. The air is aquarium still, temperature perfect for long sleeve linen. Convenient, since that's exactly what you're not wearing. You wonder who maintained climate control while everyone else was busy inventing the plow. The architect, presumably, had strong opinions about thermostat etiquette. Halfway down, you meet a doorway. Simple, lintel-free threshold marked only by a change in hue, floor tiles switch from black basalt to white alabaster, creating a stripe your brain reads as cross if you dare, or curious, or both. You dare. The moment your front foot lands on alabaster, a low chord blooms, different from the middle C upstairs, deeper, a cello note played through floorboards. It sustains, vibrates up tibias, pools behind your eyes like warm tea. Scholars would cite resonance, cavity acoustics, perhaps piezoelectric quartz stressed by your puny mass. You cite magic, because tonight magic fits better than footnotes. The chord plateaus, then decrescendos, polite enough not to overstay. Beyond the threshold lies a chamber, modest, almost cozy. Think studio apartment for a deity who downsized. Walls bare, ceiling flat, center occupied by a single object, a miniature pyramid, waist high, carved from cedar so dark it looks wet. No inlay, no gold, just wood glowing softly under the corridor's mystery light. You circle it, fingertips hovering, catching warmth like a laptop vent exhaling bedtime stories. On the side facing you, a palm-sized door, hinged, functional, stands ajar. Inside, darkness and the faint smell of onions, because apparently even mystical micro-pyramids honor the dietary preferences of work crews. You laugh, a short puff that exits more nose than mouth, and the cedar door swings wider, inviting wrist inspection. You extend a hand. The interior is smooth, hollow, room enough for a loaf of bread, a folded letter, or a king's name no one managed to chisel in granite. Empty now, yet the air feels crowded with expectation, like an auditorium after curtain call, applause still clinging to rafters. You withdraw, pat the tiny pyramid's apex, and whisper, maybe next time. The cord underfoot fades, job done, whatever job that was. Behind you, the corridor waits, patient as ever, ready to escort you deeper. You glance once more at the cedar model, half size, half hope, then turn, following the faint scent of river reeds that definitely weren't there a minute ago. Somewhere ahead, water is lapping stone, and curiosity, thirsty cat since birth, pads on. You follow the reed and water perfume until the corridor tilts and becomes a gentle ramp, alabaster giving way to rougher limestone that drinks the mysterious light rather than reflecting it. The air cools, grows damp, carries the hush of underground ponds. Somewhere ahead, a rhythmic slap echoes, water kissing stone in slow, steady kisses. Scholars argue about hidden aquifers beneath Giza. You argue with your socks, now soaked by a film of seepage across the floor. Each step produces a small squidgy sound, like applause from polite jellyfish. You whisper an apology to whatever ancient engineer spent weekends keeping this place dry, then promptly failed. The ramp opens into a low chamber half filled with black water, mirror smooth, ceiling so close your hair brushes it. A walkway of cedar planks floats, tethered by copper staples to eye bolts in the wall. The boards bob politely as you step aboard, ferrying you across with minimal complaints. Midway you pause, peer down. Beneath the surface, pale shapes glide, long, narrow, wooden. You squint, model boats, dozens, maybe hundreds, resting on the bottom like a fleet waiting for a tide that never scheduled return. Each hull is painted with green reeds, white sails furled, crews carved in miniature, mouths open in silent sea shanties. A submerged navy for the afterlife, moored in darkness because the sun was busy elsewhere. You kneel, dip fingers. The water is blood warm, startling. Ripples race outward, and as they pass, every tiny mast trembles as if catching wind. For a heartbeat, you expect the fleet to surface and sail straight into the air, flagship leading, but physics remains stubbornly aquatic. Instead, a single boat, palm-sized, breaks free, drifts up, and nudges your palm like a cat requesting head scratches. You lift it. The wood is impassably light, cedar that forgot to age. On its deck, a figurine wearing the white crown of Upper Egypt salutes with a spear the size of a toothpick. You salute back, feel silly, feel honored, set the vessel onto the plank walkway beside you. Borrow, use, return later when the water decides to behave. At the far end, a doorway admits you into a dry antechamber floored with hexagonal basalt tiles. Beehive pattern, each tile etched with a star. Overhead, a copper dome, green with verdigris, reflects the faux night sky back at itself in fun house curves. In the center, a stone trough, bathtub-sized, filled to the brim with liquid that looks suspiciously like Nile water but smells of honey and something metallic, pennies dissolved in mead. You circle, cautious. A ladle hangs from a cedar peg, its bowl shaped like a lotus. No instructions, no hieroglyphs, just hospitality humming in the air like Wi-Fi with excellent bandwidth but no password. You dip the ladle, let droplets fall. They hit the surface and emit soft tones. Do my sol, forming a major chord so cheerful it feels sarcastic given the sepulchral Dacre. A voice, not sound, more like suggestion wrapped in velvet, proposes a drink. You counter-propose survival. The trough ripples, conceding the debate. Scholars would mention ritual purification, sacred libations, maybe an early sports drink for afterlife marathons. You pour a tiny libation onto the star tiles. Liquid beads into perfect spheres, rolls outward, connecting etched constellations until Orion, Osiris, and a hippo-shaped asterism you don't recognize glow wetly. The dome above mirrors the pattern, star beads racing along copper grooves, until floor and ceiling share one brief, glittering map. Then the water evaporates, fast, vacuum fast, leaving stars dry and faintly humming, like they've been reminded of their lines. You hang the ladle back, grateful for non-toxic mysteries. Behind the trough, a narrow stair spirals downward, left-handed, counterclockwise, the opposite of most pyramid ascents. You descend, counting 33 steps, a number that feels ceremonial rather than structural. At the bottom, warmth increases, smells of cedar smoke, roasted barley, and onions. Yes, onions, persistent as pop lyrics. You enter a corridor lined with small alcoves, each holding a pottery jar sealed with mud and stamped with a seal you saw hours earlier on a shard. Day 27, still counting. Inventory rows stretch into dim distance. Enough jars to stock a cosmic pantry, labels faded but legible under breath fog. Lentils, dates, beer concentrate, something translated loosely as emergency joy. You smile, tap one jar. It answers with a slosh promising either sustenance or 4,000-year-old salsa. You decline to open, content knowing that afterlife catering is sorted. At the far end, a doorway framed in red granite exhales dry heat. Beyond it, flickering light, real firelight, the first genuine torch you've encountered. Shadows move, human silhouettes, arms gesturing, outlines overlapping like time-lapse photos. You pause, pulse ticking louder than sandstone acoustics. Scholars insist no one inhabits these spaces. Rangers insist on locked gates. Your eyes insist on dinner theater. You step forward, slow enough for caution, fast enough for curiosity, and cross the threshold into a room where the air itself feels like pages still warm from the printing press of someone else's story. The torchlight is gentler than LED, orange, breathing, the color of cats dozing by fireplaces. 3 figures stand around a waist-high table, linen kilts, bare chests, copper chisels tucked into waistbands like expensive pens. They don't notice you. Their conversation is too busy being animated. One lifts a limestone cube the size of a sugar lump, rotates it beneath the flame, and taps. Tap, tap. Exact cadence you followed all night. Another sketches on a pottery shard with a reed brush, tongue poking out in concentration. The third holds a string soaked in red ochre, stretches it taut, and snaps a straight line across a slab, pencil line, Stone Age edition, minus the pencil. Blueprints in progress, 26th century BCE, no hard hats required. You clear your throat, polite tourist. No one flinches. Acoustics here swallow foreign frequencies. You wave. The torch flickers, that's all. Scholars would cite temporal overlay, phantom acoustics, or low-budget hallucination. You settle for audience privileges and observe. The cube man lifts his sugar lump block, files an edge with a copper blade curved like a banana after a rough week. Sparks, tiny, brief, sizzle smelling of hot pennies. He blows away dust, checks fit against neighbor stone, grunts approval, perfect seam, daylight proof, ant proof, gossip proof. You want to applaud, remember invisibility, settle for mental thumbs up. Their table isn't wood, it's a single piece of granite, scarred by centuries of planning sessions. Scattered across it, miniature ramps, doll-sized sleds, string, clay models of cranes that look like playground cranes designed by children who'd never seen one. One model employs a counterweight system using a bag of sand and a curious cat carved from bone, probably symbolic, possibly comic relief. You lean closer. The cat's jointed legs allow it to climb when the sand empties, an early animated mascot. Ancient OSHA, cute division. You stifle a laugh, the air eats it anyway. Cube Man sets his perfected mini block onto a grid etched into the table surface. Row 7, column 12, completing a pattern that mirrors the pyramid's external courses in 11,000 scale. His colleague lifts a reed, dips in ink, updates tally on an ostracon. Course 201, deficit 3 stones, morale medium, onions low. Inventory control, Old Kingdom style. You picture this room as the project's nerve center, a pop-up trailer parked inside the build, 4 men ducking in for coffee and geometry. No espresso machine, but someone has a bowl of dates sweetened water with crushed coriander. The scent is herbal Gatorade, minus neon dye. You breathe it in, feel vitamins politely high-fiving blood cells. The snap-line man finishes, rolls his string, then does something unexpected. He lifts a small cedar box, opens lid, and removes a pottery jar exactly like those you passed in the pantry corridor. Inside, thick paste, dark, pungent, garlic, cumin, and something floral. He smears a daub onto the freshly cut edge of his slab, works it in with a scrap of linen. Preservation, ritual, culinary. You recall that some stones received organic coatings to reduce friction when dragged. Others received blessings, maybe both, maybe lunch. The paste glistens under torchlight, smells edible enough to suggest a marinade. Your stomach, traitor to decorum, rumbles. Still unheard, thankfully, though the cat figurine swivels its head, mechanical, sand-driven, toward your midsection. For a heartbeat you and the bone cat-lock eyes, it winks or maybe jitters. You decide to accept the flirtation and wink back. A bell rings. No metal clang, just a single musical note, the same major chord from the honey water trough. The three men straighten, roll ostraka, pocket models, extinguish torch by plunging it into a pot of sand. Darkness folds the room like blackout curtains at nap time. Footsteps recede. Left, right, fading until only the afterimage of flame pulses inside your eyelids. You stand alone in velvet black, smelling extinguished resin, garlic marinade, and the faint ozone of recently departed effort. Somewhere a door latches. Air pressure kisses your cheeks goodbye. The project managers have clocked out, leaving you with the world's most exclusive backstage pass and 0 stage lights. You wait, letting night vision remember its lines. Gradually, gray seep returns. Limestone always holds a reserve of glow, like a battery made of fossilized time. The granite table remains, cat frozen mid-climb, sandbag half emptied. You approach, run fingers along the miniature grid of blocks. Their arrangement is hypnotic, a 3-dimensional spreadsheet predicting weight, balance, and presumably coffee breaks. You lift the sugar lump cube. It's warm, as if minutes of torchlight soaked in and decided to stay. On impulse, you pocket it, borrow, use, return later, then feel immediately guilty and set it back, 1 row off. Messing with ancient Kanban boards, probably bad karma, possibly schedule slippage across centuries. You realign it carefully, whisper, on time, on budget, like a lullaby for deadlines. Behind the table, a smaller doorway leads onward, child-sized, necessitating duck waddle. You comply, entering a passage whose walls are painted with a single continuous scene, workers hauling sleds, priests waving incense, cows wearing floral necklaces, all proceeding in the same direction you now crawl. The fresco smells faintly of wet plaster and optimism. Recent, touch dry, as if painted this morning by artists who stepped out for a quick 4,500-year coffee break. You shuffle forward, nose inches from a cow that grins like it knows tomorrow's lottery numbers. Ahead, torchlight reappears. Not one, but many, flickering through perforations in the wall, creating a zoetrope of moving shadows. Somewhere beyond, voices rise again, singing, not talking, melody sliding between major and minor, the harmonic equivalent of a raised eyebrow. You follow, because stories hate being kept waiting and you've already RSVP'd by showing up. The singing corridor spills you, gently, like a bartender sliding one last drink, into a low, oval room nicknamed the eardrum by absolutely no one alive. Ceiling is a perfect half-sphere, walls coated in powdered quartz that catches torchlight and throws it back as glitter. Voices orbit overhead, male, female, child, all braided into a single chord cycling through fifths and diminished sevenths, the harmonic equivalent of dusk. No bodies visible. Sound appears tenantless, subletting from stone. You stand center, turn slowly, watch sparkles swirl in your wake like you're the stylus on a granite record. Scholars argue this is a whispering gallery. Tonight it feels more like a lullaby vending machine that accepts heartbeats as payment. You exhale, slow, deliberate. The chord answers, pitch dropping to match your lungs. Breathing becomes duet, then trio when stomach joins on percussion. You try humming Happy Birthday. Instantly the room reharmonizes, layering unexpected minors until the tune sounds like it's mourning the concept of cake. You stop. The choir giggles, modulates back to major, forgiving but teasing. Somewhere in the glitter, a faint outline appears, human silhouette, arm raised in conductor pose. You wave. Outline disperses, reforms closer, now holding what looks like a sistrum, think tamborine's sophisticated cousin. It rattles once, quartz dust cascades, spelling brief cursive in mid-air. SHHH, listen. You obey, because dust that writes earns polite attention. Silence pools, thick velvet, the kind that makes eyelids heavy. Then, from every direction, a single sentence arrives, not in words but in sensation. Cool breeze on cheek, scent of lotus, taste of dates, sound of distant oars, sight of sunrise behind eyelids. 5 cents telegram, delivered simultaneously, translating roughly to, "We're glad you came, try not to break anything." You nod, throat suddenly too full for speech. The chord resolves, softens, becomes surf on shore white noise. Glitter settles, forming a faint spiral on the floor that points toward the next doorway. Exit signs, Cosmic Edition. You cross the threshold into a passage whose walls are painted entirely in blue, lapis, midnight, baby robin, gradating from floor to ceiling like twilight rolled flat and hung as wallpaper. Golden stars speckle randomly, except one column of 5 forms a straight line aiming forward, Orion's belt plus extras, vertical this time. You follow the celestial arrow, sandals scuffing cobalt. Air here smells of rain on hot sand, a contradiction bottled and released on demand. Halfway along, you notice footprints overlaying yours, bare, longer, deeper heeled, heading the opposite direction. They glow faintly, fading after a dozen paces. Time-stamped breadcrumbs from someone who left in a hurry, maybe late for their resurrection appointment. At the end stands a door of cedar, bound in copper green as mint chocolate. No handle, instead a single note etched into the wood, the hieroglyph for B. You press your palm over it. Warmth pulses, once, twice. Then the door sighs inward, releasing a breath of honeyed wax and something sharper, like vinegar trying to pretend it's wine. Inside, the pantry of eternity, aisle after aisle of pottery, jars sealed with clay stoppers stamped with the same B sign. Shelves carved from living rock, perfectly level, labels written in crisp black ink, North Wind, distilled 2570 BCE. First thunder of inundation, vintage 2569. Laughter of small child, bottled 2568. Inventory control upgraded to poetry. You walk, fingertips grazing labels, careful not to shoplift abstract concepts. Mid-aisle, a jar sits alone under a tiny spotlight, actual beam of sunlight, though no shaft is visible. Label reads, silence between heartbeats reserved. The stopper is missing, the jar empty. You lean in, your own pulse skips, and in that skipped beat you hear the eardrum chord again, distant, greeting card from room 1. You whisper thanks, screw an imaginary lid back on emptiness, because politeness costs nothing and maybe someone downstream needs quiet. Shelf responds by releasing scent of warm beeswax, comforting, grandmotherly if grandmother's bottled weather. A low hum starts, more vibration than sound, traveling through shelves until every jar trembles like a choir warming throats. You feel it in fillings, in shin bones, in memories of summer hives. Then, gradual decrescendo, jars settle, labels realign, spotlight dims. A single jar advances half an inch, unsolicited. Label, one dream, lightly used, return by dawn. You lift it, Weightless, uncork. Inside, swirl of indigo mist smelling of your own pillow at home. Homesickness packaged, shelf-stable. You consider borrowing, recall onion beer consequences, instead recork and place it back with gentle promise, maybe on the way out. The hive room accepts your restraint. Hum softens to lullaby. Lights extinguish one by one, guiding you toward another doorway where limestone replaces blue, stars fade, and normal pyramid decor resumes, if any part of tonight can claim normality. You step through, carrying residual scent of honey and vinegar, feeling oddly stocked, as if your personal pantry received top-ups of patience, wonder, and mild intoxicant. Behind, the cedar door sighs closed, glyph darkening to sleep. Ahead, corridor slopes downward, cool air lifting like theater curtains. Somewhere below, water drums against rock. Faster now, conversational, suggesting an underground channel busy commuting. You follow, sandals squelching occasional drips, heartbeat syncing with the river's new tempo. The pyramid, satisfied you've finished browsing, steers you check out ward toward whatever aisle sells endings, or at least extended warranties on ore. The corridor funnels you downward until the drip becomes drumming, then full river gossip, water slapping stone with the enthusiasm of reunited friends. You emerge onto a narrow quay hacked from bedrock, lantern-free yet somehow lit by a soft, milk-blue glow rising off the water itself. Bioluminescent plankton's prehistoric cousin, or maybe limestone learning mood lighting. A boat awaits, papyrus bundle hull, cedar mast stepped but sail furled, rope curled like a sleeping cat on the thwart. No skipper, no passport control, just a gangplank fashioned from a single plank of acacia, hand-rubbed to velvet. You step aboard. The vessel accepts your weight with a sigh that sounds like relief. Scholars argue whether subterranean canals ever existed. Tonight the debate is moot. Your fare is one heartbeat, payable on disembarkation. Current nudges away from dock the moment your second foot leaves stone. No oars, no pole, yet the boat glides smooth as airport conveyor, channel marked by basalt stripes on either wall. Think bowling lane gutters, nautical edition. Ceiling low, rippling reflection dancing across it like cinema for bats. You trail fingers in water. Glow climbs your wrist, wet skin, then releases, dripping comet tails back into black. Somewhere downstream, a rhythmic clang, metal on rock, keeps time with your pulse. You picture ferrymen on coffee break, leaving the river to autopilot, Union rules etched in reed shorthand. First bend reveals a loading bay, stone quay, empty sleds stacked like abandoned skateboards, ropes frayed but still copper-tipped. On the dock, footprints of many sizes overlay each other, bare, sandaled, booted, history's marsh pit. No bodies, just choreography preserved in dust. You drift past, too slow to kick up wake, fast enough to feel voyeur. A faint scent of sesame oil hovers, as if someone stir-fried dinner moments ago, then ducked behind a pillar. Your stomach, previously napping, volunteers commentary. You promise dates later. It sulks, agrees to wait. Around the next curve, water widens into a pool the size of a school gym, ceiling domed, walls painted with long boats, white hulls, red sails, crews frozen mid-row. From floor to ceiling, they circumnavigate the room, creating an optical illusion that the space is spinning. Your boat obeys, rotating slowly, lazy Susan tribute. You spot a painted figure waving from a painted prow. Pigment flutters, lifts off wall, drifts across air and lands on your forearm. miniature sailor now hitchhiking. You offer him imaginary fare, 1 copper deben, payable post-mortem. He salutes, dissolves into dust, rejoins mural. Scholars would blame static, humidity, imagination. You blame gratitude, tip an imaginary hat. Center of the pool a island, man-made 3 steps high, supports a single granite box, lid ajar, size of a large cooler. Your boat beaches itself on the lowest step, bow-nosing stone with polite clunk. You step off, water glow clinging to sandals like embarrassed fireflies. The box exhales cedar and lavender, scents fighting millennia of must. You peer inside, no bones, no treasure, just a coiled rope. Exact fiber, thickness, and sesame oil sheen as the one you borrowed topside. Return policy enforced by geology. You lift it, weight familiar, like retrieving a dog from daycare. As you coil it over your shoulder, lid grinds shut by itself, granite kissing granite, job reference complete. Behind the box, a channel continues, narrower, faster. You step back into the boat, rope now domesticated passenger. Current accelerates. Think log flume minus safety announcements. Wind returns, though we're underground. Physics files another complaint. You grip the mast, sail unfurls by itself, catching breeze that smells of rain on hot rocks. Boat leaps forward, spray painting light across walls. Painted boats on murals seem to cheer, oars angled in approval. You laugh, sound swallowed by speed, and for the first time tonight you feel the pyramid is showing off, not malicious, just proud parent at sports day yelling, "Watch me." Channel bends sharper, drops several cubits, brief waterfall, stomach left at previous altitude. You land, splash, sail collapses like it's had enough drama. Speed bleeds off into a final lagoon, circular, walls sheer, sealing a cone tapering to a single star-shaped hole far above, sky viewed through inverted telescope. Moonlight funnels down, spotlighting an exit staircase carved into rock. Water here is calm, glow faded, river's encore complete. Boat noses beach of powdery sand, then stills, mission accomplished. You step ashore, sandals squishing gratitude, and glance back. The hull already looks older, read bundles relaxing into retirement. You whisper thanks, promise to write, turn toward stairs that spiral up toward the star hole, and whatever dawn the pyramid decides to loan you. The spiral stair is shoulder wide, each tread knee high, designed for calves that skip rope for a living. You climb, rope coiled like a sleeping boa over your shoulder, sandals shedding bioluminescent freckles that fade step by step. The star hole overhead grows from pin to coin to dinner plate, moonlight thickening from skim milk to cream. Halfway up, air warms, smells of sun-heated dust, and something faintly metallic, like a toaster dreaming. You count 44 steps, Egyptian lucky number, if luck were quantifiable. Then the shaft opens onto a small balcony carved into the pyramid's southern face, about halfway up. City lights glitter far below. Cairo's insomnia has dimmed to a drowsy flicker, skyscrapers yawning off office leads. You sit, legs dangling, heart conducting inventory, 1 borrowed rope, 2 sandy feet, infinite questions. From here the second pyramid looks close enough to high-five, its summit cap still wearing a jacket of original casing stones. Black belt student next to Khufu's stripped karate master. Between them, the Sphinx crouches, tail flicking moonlight like a cat drying paint. You wave. No wave returns, but a tour bus in the parking lot flashes headlights once, driver probably stretching, yet you file it under cosmic acknowledgments. Breeze rises, carrying diesel jasmine and the faint squeak of a microphone from some late-night sound and light show. The narrator's baritone drifts up, English with BBC confidence. And to this day, we still do not know. The sentence trails off, perfect cliffhanger for humanity. You finish it silently, where I left my keys, and grin, because mystery is sometimes just daily life wearing a fake mustache. Time to re-enter. The balcony offers no obvious doorway, but the rope across your shoulder tugs, gentle, purposeful, toward a blind wall. You press palm. Limestone remembers hinges, pivots inward with gravelly sigh, revealing a descending corridor lit by that same sourceless oatmeal glow. You step through. Door closes, city noises mute, world resets to interior monologue. Corridor slopes gentle, floor polished by generations of absent feet. Walls here are blank, no paint, no graffiti, just smooth stone sweating coolness. You trail fingers, leaving temporary heat prints that fade like embarrassed ghosts. Somewhere ahead, water drips in slow metronome, one drop every 4 heartbeats, suggesting an underground leak or a very patient percussionist. After 50 paces, you reach a landing split by 2 paths. Left continues down, right levels into darkness punctuated by tiny red sparks. Think runway lights designed by fireflies on minimum wage. You choose right, because descent feels greedy. You've already river cruised the basement. The sparks resolve into pottery oil lamps resting in niches, flames no larger than nail clippings, yet they illuminate enough to show the passage narrowing into a hall of lockers. Granite boxes stacked too high, each sealed with a clay disc stamped by the same bee glyph from the hive pantry. Storage units for civil servants, archive of receipts. You open one. Inside, a single papyrus roll, blank, smelling of marsh and possibility. Untouched stationery, 4,500-year vintage, waiting for a to-do list that never arrived. You roll it back up, respectfully close door, move on. Mid-hall, a lamp flickers Morse. 3 shorts, 3 longs, 3 shorts. SOS in any century. You kneel. Behind the niche, a crack exhales warm air scented with sesame and copper. You peer in, darkness bubbles alive. A voice, not quite sound, offers a trade knowledge for weight. You check pockets, only the microboat figurine you rescued earlier. You offer it. Crack inhales, figurine travels inward like a subway token, destination unknown. In return, something lands in your palm, a copper chisel, finger length, edge still sharp enough to shave daylight. Engraved on the flat, the hierocat, stick figure cat wearing crown, the doodle you saw in the crawl space. Apparently graffiti can be currency, artists rejoice across epochs. You pocket the chisel, feeling oddly tipped for services you aren't sure you rendered. Lamps ahead brighten, acknowledging transaction. At hall's end, another door, this one cedar inlaid with silver stars arranged as Orion horizontal, not vertical. Push, it swings inward on balance so perfect it feels imagined. Beyond lies a chamber shaped like a stretched oval, eyeball floor plan, pupil represented by a circular pit 10 paces across. Around the rim, limestone benches, backless, invite sitting. You comply, coil rope beside, wonder if this is the employee's break room or perhaps the king's waiting area before final job interview. Ceiling is domed, painted midnight blue, silver stars accurate enough for modern navigation, except the pole star is missing, future-proofed, ready for axial precession. Architects who think in millennia give good long-term customer support. From the pit rises a faint glow, opal swirling, accompanied by a heartbeat-like thud every few seconds, synchronized now with yours after brief negotiation. You lie on your stomach, peer over edge. Down maybe 2 stories, a stone piston the size of a grain silo rocks gently, pushed by water you can't see, timed like a giant sleep app breathing exercise. Each stroke exhales scented air, lotus, beer, fresh bread, breakfast someone forgot to serve. Scholars label this hypothetical the hydraulic pulse generator, theory hotter than onion beer in academia. You label it soothing, asthma for archaeologists. The rhythm slows, your eyelids follow. For a moment, the pyramid itself seems to nod off, head on folded arms of stone, and you're the lullaby. The piston's heartbeat lulls you to the edge of drowsy surrender, then skips 1 beat, as if clearing its throat. The opal swirl below flares, projects a soft cone of light straight up, ghostly searchlight with no helicopter. In its beam, dust motes rise and orbit like slow-motion fireflies. You half expect them to spell applause. Instead, they coalesce into a loose helix, rotating counterclockwise, the same direction the river boat spun. Scholars would blame coherent air vortices. You blame choreography because stone deserves a dance number. You sit back, hug knees, willing eyelids to stay enrolled in conscious class. The beam widens, gentle enough to read by if only hieroglyphs were printed on night itself. From your pocket, the copper chisel warms, first cozy, then borderline mug of tea. You draw it out. The cat crown glyph catches the uplight, throws tiny shadows that sprint around the chamber like laser pointers for invisible kittens. Without planning, you press the edge into a blank patch of bench beside you. Limestone yields like cold butter under a hot knife, peeling a curl the width of papyrus fiber. A scent emerges, mineral, clean, oddly reassuring, as if someone bottled first day of school and uncorked it. You carve a single modern hieroglyph, smiley face, ... for smile. Petty vandalism or inter-era high five. Debate stalls. The bench accepts the graffito with a sigh that sounds like, about time. The piston below finishes its exhale, pauses, an inhalation cued but not yet cued. In that hush, you hear something above, sandals scuffing stone, pace unhurried, descending. Real. Echo, memory arriving early. You stand, coil rope, pocket chisel, assume nonchalant posture that hopes to pass for local ghost. Footsteps resolve into 2 sets, one light, almost tiptoe, the other solid, heel heavy. They stop outside the star-inlaid door. No handle rattles. Instead, a soft knock, 3 beats, pause, 2 beats, rhythm of shave and a haircut, universal across millennia apparently. You consider answering in kind, but throat feels lined with library dust. The door swings inward anyway, balance still impeccable, revealing. Empty threshold. Footprints appear on dusty floor left, right, leading to bench where your fresh, smiley glows faintly. Seats depress, too dense, as though invisible colleagues settled in to watch the piston show. Air smells of sesame and starched linen, fresh from the cleaners, 26th century BCE. A voice, not sound, more like thought on loan, settles into your mind bilingual. Nice carving. We add onions. You reply mentally that onions are basically currency here. Laughter answers, warm, unthreatening. The dent on the left deepens. Someone leans back, relaxed. You sit again, respectful gap between invisible guests, feeling oddly like a commuter sharing late-night transit. The piston resumes. Thud, exhale, beam brightens, dust helix reforms. Together, three breathing patterns sync: yours, the mechanism, the visitor's. Heartbeats negotiate tempo, settle on leisurely 55 BPM, resting Sphinx. You realize you're participating in the world's oldest focus group. Rate your after-hours experience inside Khufu. Stars on ceiling twinkle approval, or maybe amusement. After a dozen shared breaths, the heavier presence stands. Floor dust swirls, forms a miniature whirlwind that drifts to the pit's edge. It pauses, then topples over, cascading into glow like pixie dust volunteering for overtime. Where it lands, the stone piston's surface flashes a single image, a rope, coiled, identical to the one on your shoulder. Return policy, visual reminder. You lift the rope, offer it outward. Windless air accepts, carries it loop by loop to the pit. The final strand slips from your fingers, disappears into opal light. A soft click echoes, like seatbelt engaging. Then the piston's rhythm changes, speeds up, excited puppy finally let off leash. Beam intensifies, shoots skyward through a shaft you hadn't noticed, punching into domed ceiling exactly where the pole star should be. Ceiling iris opens, stone petals retracting, revealing a square funnel ascending toward night sky. Surprise sunroof, installed on demand, warranty honored. Moonlight floods down, marries opal glow, produces shade of pearl reserved for inside seashells and expensive stationery. The beam, now moon-fed, reverses. Instead of exhaling sent upward, it inhales downward, drawing a gentle breeze through the chamber. The invisible guests stand. Footprints head toward door, pausing once to align with your smiley glyph. Nod of approval or signature on guestbook impossible to tell. Door swings out. They leave. Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter softening into memory. You're alone again, but the room feels freshly tidied, as if housekeeping folded gravity and left a mint on neural pillow. Above, the open shaft invites like a ladder made of photons. Walls inside the funnel are ribbed, easy climbing. You flex fingers, find them eager, callous just enough for grip. Upward seems polite, downward machinery seems occupied. Decision made by eyelids, now light as receipts you can finally discard. The pearl-colored shaft climbs like a square telescope aimed at a quietly approving moon. You start up the ribs, each ledge calf-high, warm from moonlight and leftover piston enthusiasm. Climbing feels less like exertion, more like crawling back into a calendar that forgot to mark days. 30 rungs in, city sounds filter down, distant car horn, a dog answering with opinions. Modernity's brief station ID before programming resumes. You pause, cheek against stone, listen. The pyramid lets the noise pass through, tolerant uncle allowing youngsters their loud music. Then quiet reclaims copyright, and you climb. 50 rungs. Arms remember they once paid taxes to gym memberships. Shoulders file polite protest. Just as lactic acid prepares a PowerPoint, the shaft tilts, becomes a ramp gentler than airplane stairs designed for dignitaries with knee replacements. You walk upright, palms brushing walls for balance, moonlight thickening until you step out onto a tiny balcony tucked beneath the pyramid's original capstone seat. Now just empty stone picture frame. You're essentially inside the missing cherry, standing on the pit. Breeze up here is rooftop party level, minus DJ. It smells of diesel exhausted from daylight, sand reheating after sunset, and something floral, maybe a stray jasmine vine that misread the climate. You sit, dangle legs into starlight, heartbeat conducting slow encore. City glow to the east has dimmed to ember. Only the Nile stays awake, reflecting moon like polished vinyl. Behind you, a final doorway. Child-sized, granite, silver star inlay rotated 90 degrees, promises interior egress when you're ready. For now, you recline on warm stone, letting vertebrae unhook. Above, sky performs its 2 a.m. set, Milky Way high beam, planets muted, satellites crossing like polite fireflies with boarding passes. You trace Orion, remember painted boats and pantry jars, realize the constellation's belt now aligns with the pyramid's eastern edge. Either axial precession is showing off, or the pyramid swiveled slightly when no one was looking. Scholars would demand trig tables. You supply wonder, tip head back, exhale. From the parquet where the copper chisel rests, a faint warmth pulses. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short, mimicking the door knock below. You draw it out. Moonlight strikes cat crown glyph, projects silhouette onto rampart wall, shadow figure now life-size, seated Egyptian style. It raises intangible hand, gestures across sky, connecting stars into outline of a boat. Same profile as the miniature vessel you rescued, only scaled to cosmic ferry. Shadow helmsman waves you aboard, though vessel is imaginary and tickets are probably non-refundable. You salute with chisel. Shadow salutes back, then disperses into regular star scatter, job reference complete. Either you've been recruited into Celestial Navy or Moonlight enjoys interactive theater. Both options beat insomnia. Footsteps approach from inside, real, definite, single set, unhurried. You half expect the invisible colleagues, but the gate is heavier, sandal leather thick, heel striking like a judge's gavel. A figure steps through the star-inlaid doorway, linen kilt, broad chest, cropped beard, eyes holding the tired kindness of shift supervisors everywhere. He carries a small cedar box, cat crown emblem burnt into lid. No words. He simply nods, sets box beside you, sits. After a breath, he opens lid inside, a single onion, bronze sculpted patina dark as antique gilt. He lifts it, offers. You accept. It's warm, surprisingly heavy, like a paperweight holding down centuries of paperwork. He smiles, pats your shoulder once fatherly, approving, slightly dusty, then stands, returns inside, door size shut. You sit holding metal onion, unsure whether you've been tipped, knighted, or grocery shopped. You turn the artifact over, base bears tiny inscription, for the ride home with thanks. Home could mean balcony, Cairo airport, or 21st century pillow. Definition remains open, like the sky above. You pocket onion, find it fits perfectly beside chisel, 2 copper curiosities nesting. Moon slides west, hinting at pre-dawn, and you realize the pyramid is closing its night shift, lights dimming section by section inside. Somewhere far below, the piston will soon clock out, the river of boats will moor, the harmonic eardrum will mute. You stand, stretch, give the skyline one last nod, city, river, Sphinx. Then step through the star-inlaid doorway, leaving the moon to supervise an empty rooftop that still smells faintly of sesame, onion, and finished stories. Inside, the passage immediately corkscrews downward, clockwise this time, as if the pyramid's interior architect believed symmetry was optional fun. You descend, one hand skating curved wall, the other cradling the bronze onion like a talisman against late shift weirdness. The air warms, smelling of sun-baked brick and distant bread. Breakfast leaked backward through time zones. 30 steps in, you pass a niche containing a pair of leather sandals, adult size, soles worn paper thin, toes imprinted with the ghost of someone else's gait. A polite sign inked on Astrakhan reads, "Loners, return before dawn." You consider. Your own sandals are mostly duct tape and regret. Swap seems fair. You slip into the loners, surprisingly supple, smelling of lanolin and second chances, then park your ex-footwear neatly. Borrow, use, return. The Onion approves. Stair ends at a horizontal corridor so low you adopt duck walk chic. Ceiling is painted midnight blue, dotted with yellow 5-point stars that glow just enough to prevent face planting. One star off-center, flickers erratically, ancient wiring or tired firefly on union break. You crawl beneath it, the flicker steadies, as if grateful for audience. Walls here are decorated with a comic strip sequence. Workers napping under palm trees, foremen shaking fists, donkeys wearing sunglasses. Either Old Kingdom labor relations had a sense of humor, or morale officers moonlighted as cartoonists. You grin. A painted donkey winks, pigment staying put this time, comedy remaining 2D. At corridor's end, a child-sized doorway requires belly-slide submission. You comply, emerging into a storeroom where ceiling height suddenly acquires ambition. Shelves carved from stone hold rolled papyri, hundreds, each tagged with clay dockets. One roll sits half unfurled on a cedar lectern, illuminated by a single shaft of light sourceless as kindness. You approach. The text is hieratic, hurried, reads, inventory of silence, 2301 units collected, 14 leaked, 1 awarded to visitor. Awarded. You pat pockets, find only the memory of the eardrum cord. Maybe that was the unit, maybe you're a walking warehouse. Penmanship is tidy, except final line, scribble hands shake. Note, onions ring when ready. You glance at bronze onion, it stays mute, probably waiting for proper cue. Behind lectern, a wooden crate, palm wood, copper-banded, awaits shipping. Lid ajar. You peek inside, neatly nested, are the missing 14 silence units, visualized as fist-sized glass orbs, perfectly transparent, yet somehow matte, like vacuum sculpted into marble. They make no sound, cast no shadow, weigh nothing, yet the crate bottom bows respectfully. One orb hovers up, drifts toward you, stops nose distance. Reflected in its curve, you see yourself multiplied. Many yous, many nights, many questions. You exhale. The orb inhales, technically you exhale, and it expands, but poetic license feels appropriate. Your breath mists inside, swirls, settles as tiny silver snow. The orb sinks back into crate, satisfied, snow glinting like bottled insomnia. Lid closes. Shipping label reads, "Return to sender, address tomorrow." A door across the room stands ajar, revealing a ramp upward, limestone fresh as bread crust. You exit, crate and silence inventory behind you, grateful that merchandise remains someone else's logistics. Ramp climbs gentle, stars on ceiling fade, replaced by plain stone and cooler air. 50 paces later you arrive at a T-junction. Left smells of myrrh and something electric. Think cathedral plus photocopier. Right carries breeze of river reeds and diesel. Reality checkpoint. You choose right. The onion tingles approval or possibly static electricity, hard to say. Passage widens into a foyer with a single ticket booth. Granite, roofless, window cut like an ATM designed by Pharaohs intern. Inside, no clerk, only a balance scale, bronze, palm-sized. One plate holds a feather, ostrich, bright white, tip painted indigo. Other plate empty, waiting. A sign, ink on limestone, reads, "Weigh comments here. Excess weight will be removed." You whisper, "Pretty cool night, thanks." Words materialize as tiny copper beads roll onto empty plate. Scale tilts, then levels, feather and gratitude in equilibrium. Receipt issued, a single-star hole punched into flake of cedar. You pocket it beside onion and chisel, now running a small museum of pocket-sized wonders. Booth rear opens into final corridor, slope upward, daylight visible as a rectangle of pale butter at the far end. You walk, sandals loaned whispering against stone, each step lighter, as if the corridor subtracts mass. 20 paces from exit, you pass a mirror-polished granite slab. First mirror you've seen all night. Reflection shows you, but cleaner, linen instead of t-shirt, hair shorter, eyes holding the same wonder yet less baggage. You raise hand. Reflection raises chisel, one you did not realize you were holding. Bronze glints, cat crown winks. You smile. Reflection smiles, then fades, leaving only your modern self, slightly dusted, grinning like someone who found the library after hours and was politely asked to keep the books. You step toward daylight, exit ticket in pocket, onion in weightless cargo, dawn breathing your name. You step into dawn the way one steps onto a moving walkway that wasn't there a second ago, gently, but with a small lurch of the heart. The exit is nothing dramatic. A simple lintel, sand drifted like a welcome mat, the pyramid's south face yawning behind you. City noise returns on polite volume, a single minaret clearing its throat, a bakery van downshifting, the Nile slapping its own snooze button. You glance back. The doorway you emerged from is already regrouping into blank stone, like a stagehand pulling blackout curtains. Loner sandals still comfy, your ex-sandals now property of the lost and found of time. You decide they'll make someone happy, someone with smaller feet and bigger curiosity. The horizon bruises peach and lavender. Stars punch out one by one, last employee switching off lights. You inhale, cool, diesel-tinged, jasmine-confused air, Cairo's signature cologne. Somewhere inside your chest, the piston's rhythm still counts time, slower now, background app. You pat pockets, copper chisel warm, bronze onion cool, cedar star receipt, smells like pencil shavings. 3 souvenirs, none TSA restricted, all origin story richer than airport duty-free. You walk downhill toward the modern road, feet remembering choreography over sand. Each print fills with powdered pink sunlight, erasing evidence at roughly the same speed you created. Perfect privacy setting. A lone camel appears, hobbled, grazing on weeds that sprout between tourist boards. It lifts head, regards you with the expression of a bartender who knows you've had one too many epochs. You offer the cedar receipt as greeting. Camel sniffs, sneezes, returns to breakfast. Fair critique. Paper currency rarely impresses livestock. You pass souvenir stall still folded asleep, plastic Sphinx keychains glinting like cheap constellations. Somewhere a kettle whistles. Someone is already brewing tea strong enough to resurrect the merely drowsy. You consider knocking for a cup. Remember you possess no Arabic before 7 a.m. Walk on. At the pavement edge you pause. The Great Pyramid sits behind you, massive, quiet, already rehearsing tomorrow's crowds. Sun crests eastern hills, first ray spearing the apex, missing capstone temporarily replaced by liquid gold light. For a heartbeat, the monument looks complete, whole, wearing dawn like a crown no one can steal. You salute with chisel. Metal flashes, throwing a tiny spark of reflected sunrise onto the sand. One star on ground answering the sky. Scholars will keep arguing. Tourists will keep selfieing. Guides will keep promising secrets. You, meanwhile, have punch clock proof that wonder still hires night shift. A taxi materializes. White Peugeot, hubcaps shy, driver humming Kulthum through a cracked window. He nods. You nod. No destination requested. You simply open the door, show him the bronze onion like it's a passport. He grins, understands something you don't, pulls away. City slides past, minarets, bridges, billboards selling phones faster than time. You lean on the window, let wind rinse dust from hair. Heartbeat settles into seat belt rhythm. The piston finally clocks out. On the horizon, plain contrails scratch white lines toward elsewhere. One of them, presumably heading home. You close eyes, onion in palm warming to skin temperature, and listen as Cairo's morning exhales your name in a language composed entirely of arriving. The taxi drops you at a small guest house courtyard, Bougainvillea yawning over whitewashed walls, early bird espresso machine coughing like a happy tractor. The driver refuses cash. He taps the bronze onion, says one word, Zayin, adornment or luck, then drives off, radio reclaiming Kulthum mid-song. You stand barefoot on cool tiles, Lona sandals still strapped, suddenly aware you possess no room key, no reservation, no identity newer than 4,500 years. The proprietor appears, elderly, galabia the color of steamed sand, eyes flicking to cedar receipt poking from your pocket. He nods as if the star hole is adequate ID, gestures you inside. Check-in formalities none. Breakfast formalities imminent. You follow, gravity feels negotiable. Courtyard table holds tiny cup of coffee thicker than some planetary crusts, plus a plate of fatir. Flaky pastry, butter bright, honey drizzled, steam carrying hints of anise. First bite tastes like forgiveness for every bad decision since birth. Second bite tastes like sunrise got promoted to dessert. You chew, realize you haven't spoken aloud in hours. Vocal cords feel like ancient papyrus left in rain. Proprietor returns, places beside you an onion. Real, red, edible. Then retreats, humming the same minor key snippet the painted donkeys cartooned. Parallel soundtrack, cosmic music. You line up bronze artifact beside biological cousin, metal and vegetable, both now heirlooms of one night shift inside stone. Metal stays mum, vegetable occasionally wafts earthy perfume, daring you to choose symbolism over omelette. Stomach votes omelette, you comply. Between bites, drowsiness arrives, not crash, more like warm towel placed on weary face. Proprietor notes drooping eyelids, points toward an arched doorway draped in indigo linen. No room number, just the fabric breathing in breeze. You part it, find a cell simply furnished, bed low, cotton sheet sun dried to the scent of photocopied sunshine, fan rotating with the politeness of a butler who knows when to hum. Window looks east, pyramid sits on horizon, now sunlit, wearing tourists like colorful fleas. You draw curtain, dim room, kick off Lona sandals. They land sole up, revealing faint, fresh inscription pressed into leather, return by dawn, extended to sunset. No late fees. Librarians of eternity, generous with overdue. You lie supine, chisel under pillow instinct, bronze onion on nightstand beside ceramic cousin, cedar receipt tucked into lampshade like a concession ticket. Fan pushes air across your face, each rotation slower, as if winding down with you. Sleep approaches not as collapse but as merger, like someone dimming lights in a museum while you're still admiring paintings. Behind eyelids, images queue, raid boats barbing mid-air, painted donkeys winking, glass orbs breathing your exhales. They file past politely, each waiting its turn, none shoving. The piston heartbeat, once metronome, now backs away respectfully, tempo fading to resting 48 BPM. You feel the pyramid's bulk several kilometers off, continuing its day shift, already forgetting your name, exactly the kindness you need. Half dream, you hear the proprietor stacking coffee cups, porcelain clink forming accidental chord. Same major triad the trough water sang. Somewhere in that resonance, the night's journey compresses into a single sentence you'll struggle to remember later. Borrow wonder, polish it with breath, return before closing. You agree, wordless, and let the sentence tuck you in like sheet corners under mattress. Outside, Cairo accelerates into morning, but inside Indigo Room, time keeps gentler books. Last conscious thought, the camel still grazing, the taxi still humming, the pistons still thudding, all ongoing without you. Proof you were visitor, not custodian. Relief folds into gratitude, gratitude into sleep, sleep into the soft bronze clang of an onion settling on wood, final lullaby note. Curtain flutters, fan whispers, and the day shift begins without requiring your signature. Sleep peels back like stage curtain, slow, reluctant, revealing you still dressed in yesterday's dust and dawn. For a moment you forget which century you checked into. The room's indigo curtain glows afternoon gold, suggesting you've napped clean through morning and part of checkout. No panic surfaces. Time inside the guest house seems negotiable, like minibar pricing. You sit. Bronze onion rolls off blanket onto lap, cool reminder that last night was invoice-paid reality, not deluxe dream. Ceramic onion still guards nightstand, now joined by a tiny glass of mint tea, steam writing cursive in sunlight. Proprietor's handwriting on saucer, drink, wake gently, return sandals when ready. Hospitality older than some nations. Tea tastes of rainwater and toothpaste, clears fog. You stretch, joints creaking like old elevator music. The Notice Loner sandals have been cleaned, stitching tightened, soles brushed. Beside them, your original pair also serviced, looking humbled but hopeful. A choice, continue in upgraded footwear or revert to familiar tread. You opt for familiarity. The night shift may be over, but souvenirs travel better in original packaging. Bronze onion nests in pocket beside copper chisel. Cedar receipt migrates to wallet, nestled against a credit card that suddenly feels fraudulent, plastic promising future debt, vs. Star hole acknowledging past wonder. You pat both, neutral alliance. Curtain parts, courtyard simmers under low sun, bougainvillea tossing magenta confetti. A table waits with late lunch, lentil soup the color of desert dusk, flatbread still puffing steam, salad speaking lemon and mint. Eating feels ceremonial, like finishing a story with proper punctuation. Each spoonful anchors you further into gravity, into 2025, into clothes that smell faintly of espresso and limestone. Proprietor appears, leans against column, watches with benevolent audit. You attempt thanks. Words come out croaky, so you raise the bronze onion instead. He nods, accepts it as if tourists pay in antiquity daily, then hands you a metro card, Cairo Transit, pre-loaded. Takes you to airport or back, he says in soft English, emphasis on back. Option hangs like a bookmark. Digestion complete, you step outside alleyway into late afternoon Cairo. Traffic sings familiar chaos. Horns, scooters, vendors roasting corn on repurposed oil drums. World has continued, indifferent to your nightly detour, yet everything feels lightly photoshopped, colors saturated, angles plumb, people outlined with faint glow. You know the effect will fade, wonder's half-life notoriously short, but for now even exhaust smells narrative. Metro entrance yawns ahead, escalators ferrying commuters who scroll phones, unaware pyramid night shift alumni walk among them. You descend, swipe borrowed card, gates part like limestone remembering hinges. Platform tiles are warm, a digital billboard overhead cycles ads, fast food, phone plans, perfume, then slips in one frame you're sure wasn't there, cat wearing white crown, winking. No one else looks up. The ad vanishes, replaced by shampoo. You grin, pocket warmth spreading, subway system now part of the extended universe. Train arrives, doors sigh, equal parts resignation and invitation. Inside, seats mostly claimed, but one remains, upholstered indigo, same shade as guest house curtain. Coincidence files for unemployment. You sit. Across from you, a child clutching paper boat, exact profile of the miniature vessel you pulled from bioluminescent water. She meets your eyes, raises boat in salute, then hands it over wordlessly before exiting at next station. Return policy, final installment. Train surges toward airport, city blurs outside window into streaks of umber and neon. Paper boat sits on lap, perfectly dry, folds crisp. You open it. Inside, penciled hieratic. Course complete, unit credited. No grade, just credit. You refold, stow beside chisel. 3 artifacts now form a pocket trinity, tool, produce, vessel. Every good story needs hardware, groceries, and transport. Announcement chimes. Terminal 1, international departures. Doors slide. You stand, lighter by one night, heavier by several millennia, carrying luggage no X-ray will fully interpret. The corridor ahead promises customs, security, duty-free, but above the fluorescent hum you still catch faint echo, piston thud, river slap, choral chord. Headphones would mask it. You leave ears unplugged, preferring the remix. Airport corridors bloom fluorescent white, a different galaxy from last night's limestone constellations. You walk, paper boat tucked passport adjacent, sandals flapping Morse code across polished floors. Overhead speakers loop security reminders in 3 languages. Underneath, faintly, the middle C chord from the pyramids throat hums like tinnitus you'd pay to keep. Check-in kiosk asks for destination. You almost say Khufu, circa 2560 BCE, but select a prosaic European city instead. Machine spits boarding pass, fails to notice millennia in your pocket, and you shuffle toward security. Modern gatekeeper requiring no papyrus visa, only quartz-sized transparency. Bins rattle, belt, phone still dead, sandals original pair humbled, bronze onion rolls, draws officer's eyebrow. You place it in a bin solo, scanner picture probably resembles exotic grenade. Officer lifts, weighs, decides produce is produce, even if archaeological, and waves it through. Paper boat rides atop, crisp, refusing X-ray fade. No alarm blares. Scale back home would call that balanced. You reclaim artifacts, feel absurd pride smuggling wonder past polyester uniforms. Gate awaits, but duty-free beckons with familiar lull, bright bottles, chocolate pyramids, perfume named Pharaohs whispers. You resist buying souvenirs. You already own the director's cut. At gate, windows frame runways, and beyond, the Giza Plateau, distant, sunlit, calmly touristed. From here the Great Pyramid looks postcard small, yet your body remembers each rib, each breath, each piston thud. You sit, pull chisel, balance it on palm. Metal warms, projects faint cat shadow onto carpet, nearby child giggles, chases silhouette with finger. Her mother, absorbed in phone, misses moment. You don't. Wonder appreciates witnesses, however junior. Child tires, curls into seat, thumb in mouth, dreams probably featuring boats and onions, ingredients for a life not yet seasoned by disbelief. Boarding call, Rose 2035. You fall within range, join queue. Ticket scans, gate beeps, bridge smells of jet fuel and recycled air, perfume of departure. You glance back once, corridor could be any corridor, yet you know hidden beneath fluorescent tiles runs a river of light, a fleet of painted boats, a piston rehearsing heartbeat for next traveler. You step onto plane, aisle seat, window shuttered. Seat back screen offers movies, including a documentary titled Secrets of the Pyramids. You select it, mute sound, preferring your own soundtrack. As engines spool, you place paper boat in seat pocket upright, miniature figurehead watching cabin. Safety video plays. Oxygen masks drop like unopened pantry jars. Instructions promise breath, promise return. Pushback. Gravity presses you into upholstery. Same push the piston gave, only horizontal. You let it. Eyes closed, palms open. In darkness behind lids, limestone corridors reorganize themselves into a map you can't draw but could walk blindfolded. The plane taxis, turns, accelerates. You sink breath with throttle, lift off merging with memory of ascending star-ribbed shafts. Wheels leave tarmac. You imagine the pyramid waving, not sentimental, simply acknowledging another graduate departing campus. Cabin lights dim, passengers drool into neck pillows. You stay awake, guarding last embers, replaying inventory, chisel, onion, receipt, boat, sandals, feather-balanced gratitude. No overhead announcement covers that itinerary. At cruising altitude, you unfold tray table, take chisel, etch a tiny cat crown into plastic surface. Gentle vandalism at 35,000 feet. No one notices. Even flight attendants are Netflix bound. The glyph dries instantly, as if metal cauterizes polymer. You snap photo with newly charged phone. Image looks back, pixel proof that wonder can survive cabin pressure. Then you power down again, prefer memory unfiltered by cloud storage. Somewhere over the Mediterranean, you drift, not quite asleep, not quite ticket holder, somewhere between borrowed sandals and returned rope, horizon ahead promising sunrise, behind leaving a pyramid still breathing, still humming middle sea, still waiting for the next traveler who arrives with empty pockets and a heartbeat prepared to like and subscribe. Somewhere over the Mediterranean, the cabin lights dim to the color of weak tea and stay there. You drift, not into sleep, but into that airplane latitude where thoughts float like balloons tied to nothing. The pyramid's middle sea chord returns, softer than the jet's white noise blanket, steady as a lighthouse you can't quite see. You let it tow you. Behind closed eyelids, limestone corridors reassemble themselves, but gentler, ramps leveled, ceilings raised, every chisel mark smoothed by mercy. It's as if the monument is giving you the tourist edit version, mindful you're now on a layover between centuries. A flight attendant pauses, offers water. You accept, sip, taste faint cedar, impassable yet there. Plastic cup might have been stored near someone's duty-free souvenir box, or your own memory is leaking flavor. You whisper thanks. She moves on, unaware she just served millennia on ice. Tray table remains down. Paper boat rides it like a kayak on a placid lake of folded blanket. You nudge it, feel the hull's crispness, remember the child at the subway, wonder if she's dreaming of painted river fleets. Somewhere aft, a baby cries, brief, confused, then settles. Even infants recognize when engines replace lullabies. You power on the seatback screen, mute still on, and scroll the flight map. A tiny plane inches across blue. Egypt shrinks behind. Europe approaches like a polite conclusion. You zoom out, the whole planet a night light, continents outlined in neon marketing. Pinch to zoom further and Giza is just a beige smudge, yet you can pinpoint it by heartbeat, like finding your house from altitude by the color of porch bulb. You toggle overlay, ancient wonders icons pop up, pyramid, lighthouse, gardens, colossus. You select the pyramid, info bubble reads, built c. 2560 BCE, still mostly intact. Mostly. You picture the missing capstone, the empty socket you leaned into, the beam that shot skyward. Mostly intact, partly open, like you. Seat belt sign dings, turbulence ahead, captain predicts mild. Plane shivers, your stomach dips, familiar free fall cousin to the underground waterfall you rode in darkness. You breathe through it, same rhythm the piston taught, inhale scent of warm bread, exhale cool limestone. Works, gut settles. Around you, passengers tighten grips on armrests, you loosen yours, palms up, letting air pockets roll through like friendly ghosts. The pyramid taught buoyancy, you're merely subcontracting. A man across aisle glances, notices you're calm, borrows it, shoulders dropping. Wonder, like turbulence, is transferable. Hours dilute. You open the tray table screen's documentary again, skip to closing shot, aerial view of Giza at sunrise, same image you lived 12 hours earlier. Filmmaker's voice-over lists unanswered questions, subtitles trail like obedient puppies. You mute again, supply your own narration inside head. To this day, we still do not know, but sometimes we feel. Feels enough for tonight. You close the screen, rest forehead on cool window. Outside, wing lights blink red, white, red, heartbeat matching the piston you left behind. Clouds skim below, an ocean solid enough to hold imagined fleets. You picture reed boats sailing them, crews waving upward, asking for directions to the pantry of eternity. You point vaguely forward. They salute, continue. Eventually fatigue wins. Sleep arrives not as collapse but merger, like someone dimming cabin lights inside your skull. Last conscious image, the bronze onion, resting on nightstand back in indigo room, now perhaps glowing faintly, signaling across continents, whispering, "Return by dawn, dawn is portable." You agree, wordless, and let the cord inside your ears ferry you into a darkness that smells of cedar, sesame, and unread footnotes. Seat reclines an inch, tray table stays down, paper boat riding shotgun. Engines hum middle C, the pyramid keeps singing long-distance lullaby, no roaming charges. Somewhere ahead, Europe prepares breakfast. Somewhere behind, limestone keeps breathing. You drift between passenger and passport, luggage and legend, until the sky outside begins its slow fade toward tomorrow, and the next chapter tiptoes in. You surface from sleep as the plane tilts into descent. Slow, polite nudge that says story's almost over. Please fasten narrative threads. Cabin lights lift to pewter dawn. Outside, window glass hosts tiny frost galaxies that shrink as altitude drops. You wipe one with sleeve. Clouds below part like theater curtains revealing patchwork, Europe. Emerald fields, graphite rivers, villages still blinking night lights off. Somewhere under one of those roofs, people are brewing coffee stronger than pyramid myths. You smell it by imagination, or maybe cabin vents slipped a placebo. Either way, stomach rumbles, agrees to transition from starlight to star-shaped breakfast croissants. Seat belt sign dings, tray tables ordered upright. You comply, stow paper boat inside jacket pocket, crease now softer, traveled. Bronze, onion, and copper chisel clink softly, metal percussion against ribs. Descent continues. Ears pop, equalizing pressure between yesterday and today. You yawn, hear faint middle sea echo, wonder if the pyramid's chord travels in cabin air or simply camps inside eardrums. Flight attendant collects trash. You keep empty water cup, souvenir lightweight and crushable like most memories prefer to be. Captain promises landing in roughly the time it takes to build a small monument. Hyperbole feels family-friendly. You smile, imagine workers scrambling across clouds, sledging cumulus blocks. Wheels touch tarmac, brief asphalt growl, engines reverse, polite deceleration. You've arrived, yet departure hasn't ended, travel receipts still accumulating in joints. Passengers stand, open bins, release phones to hunt signal. You wait, let the queue thin, prefer aisle without elbow rugby. When space widens, you step out, stretch spine, vertebrae pop like bubble wrap auditioning for asthma. The scent of kerosene and cold metal replaces limestone dust, yet both share the same ancestry, earth pressed by time. You walk bridge corridor, fluorescent hums swapping for turbine wine, each sound a dialect of motion. Arrivals hall ahead promises baggage, customs, coffee priced like artifacts. Immigration officer flips passport, finds nothing pharaonic, stamps anyway. You pass, no declaration barks for imported wonder. Luggage carousel spins. Your modest backpack emerges first, either lucky or the universe owes you continuity. Outside, airport smells of diesel rain and bakeries vending yesterday's nostalgia. You check phone, battery 42%, signal restored, calendar clogged with meetings that feel like hieroglyphs you can no longer decipher. You silence alerts. No notification can outweigh a night inside stone. Public transit map glows. Route home involves trains, buses, perhaps one short walk beneath streetlights that may or may not recognize you. But first, coffee. You find stand, order filter, no milk, prefer taste of wakefulness unsoftened. Barrister scribbles name on cup. Ink smudges, resembles reed brush glyph. You pay, sip, burn tongue slightly, modern proof you're alive and capable of minor mistakes. Steam fogs window. Beyond, runways glint, planes lifting like mechanical birds rehearsing migration. You picture one heading southeast, tracing your contrail home to Cairo, where dusk will soon tuck sun behind pyramids, where piston will clock in for another shift. Someone on that plane might hear faint middle sea, might wonder whose heartbeat they borrowed. You raise cup in silent toast, may they return the rope. Train platform, cold wind tunnels down tracks, smells of brake dust and distant pine. You zip jacket, notice lining pocket bulge, inside the child's paper boat has unfolded slightly, revealing new penciled line. Course 2 starts when you're ready. No syllabus, no start date, just open enrollment. You refold, smile, accept deferred acceptance. Homebound train arrives, doors part like limestone remembering hinges. You step aboard, find seat, rest head against cool glass. Outside, sunrise finishes its shift, hands over to ordinary morning. The pyramid's chord fades to tinnitus whisper, content to wait. You close eyes, not to sleep, but to inventory: sandals, onion, chisel, receipt, boat, wonder, carry-on packed, credits rolled, landing gear stowed. Next chapter already taxiing. The train rocks like a long lullaby on steel strings, carriage sway gentle enough to keep wonder awake but drowsy. Outside, suburbs scroll, brick, ivy, satellite dishes blooming like grey mushrooms. You watch, chin on glass, pupils dilating to adjust from desert vastness to postage stamp gardens. Each backyard contains a shed. Each shed, you decide, secretly houses a tiny pyramid of lawn tools and half-used paint cans. People store wonder wherever they can. In your pocket, paper boat rustles, reminding syllabus of Course 2 is unpaid internship with open start date. You yawn, not from fatigue but from cosmic jet lag. Time zones are easy. Epoch zones take adjustment. Seat across aisle hosts a businessman scrolling headlines: wars, markets, weather. Headline flickers. Cat wearing crown meme appears for half-second, vanishes. Either local Wi-Fi hosts ancient jokes, or the pyramid's algorithm follows you, a /B testing wonder on unsuspecting demographics. You catch businessman's eye, raise eyebrow. He returns to screen, unaware of soft middle C now layering under train clack. Chord stays polite, volume just above blood flow. You let it ride, soundtrack for scenery becoming sepia in morning haze. Stations pass, names announced, doors sigh, commuters swap, none carrying onions bronze enough to warrant nod. Normalcy, fragrant and fragile, reasserts itself. Your stop approaches. You stand, grip pole, feel copper chisel shift in coat like friendly compass pointing somewhere calendars forgot. Platform appears, concrete, gum spotted, pigeons debating ownership. You step off, breath automatic but scented faintly of cedar, as if lungs brought carry-on luggage. Exit gate scan ticket. Turnstile releases you into town square where clock tower shows local time, date, and temperature. None reference dynasty. You walk familiar streets, bakery advertising fresh at 6 a.m. Bookstore window displaying lost civilizations next to keto desserts. Civilization, you conclude, is just another diet plan. Hard to stick to, easy to lose weight of wonder. Home street, row houses, clipped hedges, neighbors cat asleep on recycling bin. Cat opens one eye, spots you, stands, stretches, and impassibly wears a miniature white crown, cardboard maybe, secured by elastic. You blink, crown vanishes, replaced by plain collar. Hallucination or residual filter. You salute anyway. Cat yawns, returns to solar charging. Front door key slides smooth. Lock clicks like limestone remembering hinges. Inside, mail piled, plant wilted, air stale but salvageable. You drop backpack, place bronze onion on mantle between unmailed bills and holiday cards. Instant upgrade, living room now museum diorama titled Night Shift Souvenirs. Shower runs limestone colored at first. Silt from pipes or from skin, hard to say. Water warms, pressure erases dust, but memory stays bonded like primer coat. You lather, rinse, repeat. Notice soap smells faintly of lotus, though label claims alpine breeze. Marketing overlap or supply chain mystery. Towel dry, dress in soft cotton, feel body rejoin present tense. Phone buzzes, calendar reminders, news alerts, group chats. You scroll, thumb pausing on headline. Archaeologists discover new void inside Great Pyramid. Photo shows muon scanner rigs, scientists in high-vis vests, captions citing ongoing research. You smile, mutter, tell me about it. and silence alerts again. Some research happens outside paywalls. Some happens at 35,000 feet or inside pockets. Coffee brews. Beans from Guatemala. Nothing to do with Giza, yet steam rises in spiral matching last night's dust helix. You inhale, let piston rhythm sync with drip machine. Cup in hand you sit, unfold paper boat, smooth creases. Inside, new line appears inked. Course 2 fieldwork. Apply 1 wonder locally, observe propagation. Syllabus finally specific. You consider neighborhood, potholes, library underfunded, park bench broken. Plenty of vacancies for micro wonder. Bronze onion catches kitchen light, throws copper halo onto wall. Projector you didn't know you owned. You exhale cord. Middle C hums back from kettle, toaster, window, glass vibrating. Neighborhood doesn't know it, but night shift is about to open a local branch. You spend the afternoon walking the neighborhood like a surveyor, mapping fault lines in need of wonder. Pothole on Maple, diameter pizza large, depth ankle threatening, filled with rainwater and rainbow oil. You kneel, place paper boat, now unfolded into a simple square over the puddle. It floats, barely, but the creases hold. From pocket, you shave the tiniest curl of bronze onion with copper chisel, drop shard into water. Curl spins, dissolves, leaves a coppery shimmer that spreads until the whole puddle glows like sunset trapped in asphalt. A passing kid on scooter brakes, stares, whispers cool to parent who hasn't looked up from phone. Wonder, stage 1, deployed. Next stop, library brick building dating to the 1950s, budget starved, air thick with paper size. Inside, fluorescent tubes flicker Morse for help. You approach circulation desk, ask for smallest, least read book. Librarian, silver-haired, glasses on chain, raises brow but leads you to reference local industry, 1972. Spine cracked, pages yellow. You open to middle, insert cedar receipt as bookmark, star hole facing outward. On title page you etch, barely visible, cat crown glyph. No one sees, even security camera yawns. You reshelve between petroleum outlook and zoning reform. Wonder seed planted. Someday a bored teen browsing industry stats will find star punched cedar. Wonder who left it, why. Ripple 1, incoming. Park next, swing set missing 2 seats. Chain links rusted like ancient sausage. You sit on the lone, intact swing, push off, gain modest altitude. At apex, you flick wrist, copper chisel catches sunlight, throws a pinpoint beam onto nearby trash can lid, brief, bright semaphore. A girl waiting her turn notices, tries to replicate flash with her phone mirror. Fails, laughs, tries again. New game birthed, catch the dart. Within minutes, 3 kids attempt angles, giggling. You exit stage left, surrender swing, leave them chasing light they can't name. Wonder airborne, multiplying. Dusk gathers, streetlights stutter on. You return home, mantle now shrine to improbables, bronze onion center, chisel crossed, paper boat refolded, star receipt bookmark gone but mission logged. Neighbor's cat appears on windowsill, sans crown yet eyes reflecting copper halo from onion. You offer it a sliver of onion peel. No, actual vegetable this time. Cat sniffs, declines, stays for company. Across street, porch light flickers in pattern, 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. Could be faulty bulb, could be echo of door knock inside stone. You answer with same rhythm tapped on glass, light steadies as if satisfied. Neighborhood now holds at least 4 nodes of propagated wonder. Sample size tiny, data unquantified, feeling immeasurable. Evening news flickers on TV, Headline about pothole mysteriously shimmering. Local council puzzled. Chemists en route. You sip cocoa, taste faint lotus, watch officials propose tests. Let them test. Copper film will fade by morning, but kids whispered cool will outlast asphalt. Phone buzzes. Airline survey. How was your flight? You type. In-flight entertainment ancient, cabin service timeless, baggage claim ongoing. Send. Somewhere, data analyst will file confusion under eccentric. You pocket phone, hum middle C, kettle answers, fridge harmonizes. House becomes quiet chord, residential version of eardrum. Course 2, fieldwork, ongoing. Bedroom window open, night air carries first star. You place paper boat on sill, let breeze rock it. No puddles here, just possibility. Tomorrow you'll commute, queue, answer emails. But tonight you catalog micro-victories. One glowing pothole, one star-punched library seed, one playground sunbeam game, one porch light handshake. Syllabus never mentioned scale. Wonder works microscopic, multiplies exponential. You lie back, eyelids heavy, copper onion gleaming softly like night light carved from history. Last thought before drift, maybe the pyramid exports more than sandstone. Maybe it franchises heartbeat. You agree to regional management, sleep tugging cord down to lullaby tempo. Neighborhood watches, unaware it's enrolled, semester begun, tuition prepaid by one night inside a mountain that moonlights as a metronome. Morning arrives in drafts. First, pale light pooling on the sill. Then, birds rehearsing scales borrowed from last night's chord. Finally, the soft click of the paper boat rocking against window glass, breeze impatient for graduation day. You lie still, letting dawn tally the micro-wonders planted, pothole shimmer fading but not forgotten, library seed awaiting board scholar, playground sun darts probably already nickname named, porch light Morse now neighborhood lore. Syllabus complete, yet course 3 looms unwritten, postgraduate work titled Keep It Breathing. You stretch, feel mattress ordinary beneath you, wonder how to staple magic to Monday without creasing it. Breakfast ritual, coffee, toast, phone scrolled headlines. Today's local news, last page small font, mentions unexplained coppery residue vanishing overnight, leaving artistic pattern on asphalt. Council has no plans to investigate further. You grin, bureaucratic shrug the perfect preservative for mystery. Next item, library reports unusual bookmark found in industry tome. Teen volunteer quoted saying, "It's like a star punched out by time." Curiosity germination confirmed. You sip, taste lotus faint but persistent, memories creamer. Email inbox loads, meetings, spreadsheets, a newsletter about brand engagement. Subject line of newest message reads, "Like, subscribe, survive the commute." You delete it, wonder unsubscribes from spam. Shower thought, maybe the pyramid's final secret is that it exports apprentices, not answers. You towel off, dress, pocket the copper trinity, chisel, onion, receipt, like a travel-sized toolkit for tweaking reality. Commute walk, same streets, newly porous. You notice cracks where weeds grow in perfect Fibonacci spirals. You nod, greet them as alumni. Bus arrives, driver's badge name, Orion, makes you smile. He returns it, unaware his moniker just harmonized with your inner soundtrack. You tap Metro card, still preloaded, still generous, find seat beside window scratched with tiny cat crown glyph. Either the city is learning your language, or wonder went viral overnight. Office lobby, security gate scans badge, scanner beeps in middle C. You laugh, guard glances, half smiles, returns to morning paper. Elevator ride, 12 people, 12 phones, 12 separate algorithms. You keep yours pocketed, prefer algorithm of breathing. On floor 9, conference room awaits Monday stand-up. Whiteboard pristine, markers lined like quarry blocks waiting order. You uncap blue, draw simple smiley, yours from limestone bench. Then close cap sit. Colleagues trickle, caffeine flagged. Team lead asks weekend recap, you say, took a night class in breathing. Nods, polite, no follow-up. Workplace accepts ambiguity if delivered calmly. Meeting proceeds. You doodle spirals that end in star holes. No one notices. Productivity metrics stay intact. Lunch break, you walk to riverfront. Smaller cousin of Nile, murky yet steadfast. You sit on concrete parapet, unwrap sandwich, balance copper chisel across knee like seesaw. Sun glints, throws pinpoint onto water, ripples catch it, toss back tiny flashes. A passing duck changes course, follows light dart, circles you twice, quacks approval. Tourists on rented bikes pause, photograph duck, accidentally capture glint. Wonder propagates. Avian, digital, aqueous. You finish lunch, leave no etching, take only memory, borrow, use, return applies to rivers too. Return to office lighter, not by food but by distributed sparkle. Afternoon email. Local museum invites public to micro-wonder installation, pop up next month. Drops small artifacts that make people pause. You consider submitting paper boat, decide it prefers open windows to display cases. Instead, you promise to carve a pocket-sized cat crown from cedar off-cut, leave it on a city bench with "Play me" note. Propagation protocol updated. Give wonder handles, not cages. Clock strikes 5, you shut laptop, stand, stretch. Heartbeat steady at resting rate, yet each pulse carries faint afterglow of piston thud, like bass line remixed for polite society. You decide rhythm is subscription service you're willing to pay, monthly fee, one exhaled thank you. Evening home, mantle inventory reorganized. Bronze onion center, chisel crossed in front, paper boat unfolded to flat sheet now bearing today's doodles, spirals, star holes, duck silhouettes. Cat next door appears, sans crown but purring at copper warmth. You open window, hum middle C, distant porch light flickers same rhythm. Network established, mesh of quiet signals. You sit, diary open, write final entry for course 2, fieldwork complete. Wonder confirmed contagious via asphalt, puddles, library dust, playground sun, duck feathers, office whiteboards, duck photographing tourists, and one security scanner. No antidote required. You close book, feel night air braid with coffee scent, and understand the pyramid's greatest export was never stone. It was resonance, shipped prepaid, carry-on approved. Bedtime, you lie supine, palms open, loner sandals returned in spirit though physical pair still by door, mortal footwear, adequate for local commutes. Ceiling above shows no constellations, yet you map them anyway. Orion over bookshelf, Osiris above lamp, Hippo asterism near smoke detector. They stay put, honorary paint for rented sky. Lights off, fan hums, notes sliding gently into C major. You breathe piston count, let eyelids fall. Last image, empty socket atop pyramid, now filled not by gold but by moonlight delivered on schedule. Proof that missing pieces can be luminous and temporary. You smile, surrender to drift, content that tomorrow's spreadsheet holds hidden cells labeled wonder, formula set to autofill. Somewhere, perhaps, another traveler checks baggage, receives middle C boarding pass, unaware night shift is hiring. You exhale, cord answers, curtain falls on course 2. Diploma, heartbeat, framed by silence. Silence after the final heartbeat thud is the softest thing you've touched all month, like the pyramid let you keep a sliver of its quiet as a parting gift. You drift, not into dream, but into the corridor between waking and whatever comes next, aware of lungs slowing to the piston's retired tempo. Ceiling stays dark, yet a faint square of moonlight, borrowed from some distant high-rise window, rests on your chest, weightless yet grounding. It feels like a receipt stamped, paid in full, valid indefinitely. You don't move, movement belongs to tomorrow. Tonight is only inventory of breath. In the hush, images arrive unforced, the cat crown glyph projected on airplane wall, the duck steering by reflected sun, the librarian discovering star-punched cedar. Each memory lands softly, folds itself into the bedsheet like laundry warm from Wonder Dryer. No narrative, just souvenirs nesting. Somewhere far off, a car alarm starts, then thinks better of it, quiet reseals. You feel the pyramid continue its shift without you, Bronze Age HR clocking in new travelers, same heartbeat, different username. Alumni status, inactive, benefits ongoing. Your pocketed trinity, chisel, onion, receipt, rests on nightstand, but in the dark they feel larger, as if occupying pocket dimensions rather than pine wood. Warmth pulses from each in slow rotation. Copper cool, bronze lukewarm, cedar neutral, taking turns to remind you they're present but not possessive. Borrow, use, return can wait. You've already returned enough, rope, sandals, silence units. Even the smiley glyph now lives on a limestone bench 3,000 miles away. What remains is on loan to you, renewable by breath. Time thins, seconds stretch like taffy under summer sun. You catch yourself between one inhale and the next, suspended like the glass orb that stored your skipped heartbeat. No urge to move, to roll over, to claim tomorrow. The night leans close, whispers, "You are safe, there's nothing left to do tonight." You believe it, because stone taught you weight can be gentle, and gentle can be infinite. Eyelids stay lowered, not heavy, just uninterested in reopening. Breathing becomes the only story worth following. Each exhale releases a copper shimmer visible only to eyelid cinemas. Far away, dawn begins its commute, but it will arrive gently, clocking in after you've clocked out. For now, the sky holds its breath with you. Moon shifts a finger width. The square of light on your chest slides toward shoulder, tucking you in like a parent who knows when to leave. You feel the faint hum of the piston, the river, the coral cord, all reduced to background app, battery set to infinite. Sleep tiptoes closer, carrying no dreams, only space. You meet it halfway, palm open, onion-shaped indent still warm. There is no final secret to uncover. Only this: inhale, exhale, listen to the quiet that once echoed through 2.3 million stones and has now folded itself small enough to fit inside your ribs. Each breath slower, the night leans closer. Stars gather overhead even through the ceiling, and you understand that every corridor eventually leads here to a still room, a hushed heart, and the gentle certainty that wonder, once borrowed and returned, still hums softly in the walls, waiting for the next traveler, though that can wait until morning. For now you are safe, weightless, and perfectly on time. Sweet dreams.